and Scrappy Mania, and today I'm going to fix this ironing board. This is a portable ironing board, perfect for quilters. I got it at Ikea. The only thing is there's not really any padding on this thing. And when you iron, I mean it does iron, but there's hardly any padding. It does the job, but I would like to have a little more, because as you can see, even the background grid or screen, it actually comes across, so there's not really a lot of padding on here. So I want to fix it now. It does, I want to make it that it's nice and sturdy and flat. So I'm going to take this off, and we're going to put a new one made out of canvas, and then I'm going to take some wood and I'm going to place that here. And then I'm going to put batting on top of this, and it's going to make it seem nice and sturdy and firm for my ironing. So I'm going to go ahead and place the wood, and I'm going to trace it out. And you're going to need batting, 100% cotton batting. You can't get any polyester. It has to be 100% cotton. Otherwise, it's not going to work very well. It's going to melt. I think I got everything. Yep. And then I'm going to go ahead, let's see. Once I cut this out, then I need to cut another piece for the top area. Right here. So I need to cut another piece for this top area right here, because my board is a little short. Okay. So let me go ahead and cut this out. I'm going to go ahead and use my rotary cutter, or my tools. I'm going to cut it out with my jigsaw. It'll probably be better. And then I shall be back once I have it all. Next thing we're going to do, I already cut it out, so I need to go ahead and put glue around the edges here. And I can actually put glue throughout the whole thing to put it on here. And then I'm going to put some heavy material. I'm going to use some Gorilla Glue. And this type of Gorilla Glue, you have to mist it. So let me see. And actually it fits better this way. Just making sure it fits. And then, so what you need to do is you need to mist it first. So I'm misting the wood. And then you need to mist this according to the instructions. Then once I mist it, I'm going to go ahead and take my glue. Let me put a little more moisture on here. And then make sure I put enough glue on the edges. And then these have some areas, I think right here, some glue on there, glue on there, lay it down, and I'll put something heavy on top, and I'll put another heavy material on here. And we're going to let this dry. Okay, so it's nicely adhered now, as you can see. So now I'm going to go ahead and create cover. I'm not going to repurpose this one, but if you want, you can repurpose this one. Because once you put it here, even if you don't have batting, just putting the wood on this. Let me show you what happens. Just with putting that wood on your cover here, give it a little more foundation, and you can iron on this, but I want to go ahead and change the padding, and I want to go ahead and change the cover. So for this, you're going to need some natural batting. So this is the batting, and this is, let me bring the package. What you need to use is this Warm and Natural, and it needs to be 100% cotton. No resin, no glue, nothing. You cannot have any polyester or anything like that, because you're going to submit it to high temperature, and it will burn or melt if you use polyester or anything like that. So I'm going to use this Warm and Natural, and I'm going to measure it. And I'm going to put two, I think 2 thickness will be good enough for this. And then I am just going to roughly just measure it out. Okay, so there, and then I'm going to cut that out. So let me go ahead and cut it, and I'll be back. Now we need to make sure that it fits on here. And it does fit, so now I'm going to use this for my pattern. I am going to use some canvas, and the reason why I'm using canvas because we can spray it and it will actually get tighter if you spray it after you put it on. So I want to make sure that it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to open this up. I'm going to bring this over, and do not cut it. I would say give like 6 inches around, because let me show you one that I've been experimenting with creating these pressing cloth. Here's one that I have a video on this craft table that turns around, and what I did is I repurposed it for pressing cloth, and you can even move around and I can press things, but I made it too small. See how small it is? I do not want to do that with this. I'm going to go ahead and give it about 6 inches. If I have to cut after that, that's fine. It's always better to make things smaller than trying to keep it, to make things larger. So I'm going to measure. Let's go ahead and put, let's see. Let's do, I think 4 inches will be good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out 4 inches from here. So I'm using the edge of the batting, and I'm measuring 4 inches from the edge of that batting to the outside of my canvas. So I went ahead and serged the edges, as you can see here, because this canvas really unravels a lot. And then I'm going to place this here, and then I went ahead and had some old fabric, and I'm going to put that on top of my batting, and then I'm going to sew the edges so that way I protect the batting from the wood. And also in case I want to wash this, more likely what I'll do is I'll just make a new one if I need to, if this one gets dirty. But just in case I do want to wash it, so I'm going to go ahead and sew it. So the easiest way to do this is to take some basting spray, spray it on your batting, on your cloth, just a little bit, not a lot. I just don't know how that basting spray will react with heat, so I'm just putting a little bit, because again I can wash this, but I want to make sure it stays in place. Okay, and And then I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew the edges. And I shall be back. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew the edges. So I'm going to go around both of the batting and the fabric. And this doesn't have to be perfect. I am trying to get the batting and the fabric, but in some cases I'm not really getting the both of them together. I basically just want to make sure that I encase the batting underneath this fabric so that way it won't stick to the wood. Okay, so now that it's encased, I'm going to go ahead and create my opening or my channel for my elastic that is going to go around. So you want to leave an opening about an inch to inch and a half, so that way you can thread your elastic through the channel, and make sure your channel is wide enough that it's going to be able to have the elastic fit through the channel. The other thing that I do on the opening, I backstitch the beginning of the opening and on the other side of the opening, so that way when I'm pulling, it's not going to unravel or open up on me while I'm threading my elastic through it. Okay, so now let me go ahead and get some elastic. So I have, this is a 1/2 inch elastic. Let's get something to thread that. You can buy these little things. They're you get 3 in a set, and what they are is that you put your elastic through it, and then you can thread it through the opening. And it'll stay there. And it's better than using, I usually use safety pin, but this is a lot better than safety pin. I may end up using a safety pin because I didn't make the channel wide enough. So let me give you a trick. I didn't make it wide enough, so it's not fitting through here. So I should have made this wide. I think it will be fine around. But if you do not have one of those, or if you do like me, you created the opening too wide or too narrow that the elastic doesn't go through, you can just take a safety pin. And a lot of times if I had tape handy, I tape this so it doesn't come out, because a lot of times this comes out as you push. This mechanism here comes out. If you put tape, it won't. But I'm just gonna, since I don't have any seam and it should be pretty easy to thread, you're just gonna thread the elastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and thread this elastic, and I shall be back. Now, notice that this has a lot of gather, so the elastic is pretty tight. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I'm putting actually the elastic very tight, and making sure don't let go of this end. I'm going to go ahead and before I sew it together, so what you want to do is sew this together. And actually I think I feel pretty comfortable that it is going to sit nice and tight. Let's get a little more here. I think we'll be okay. I'm going to go ahead and sew this together. And let me compare it to this one. This one's a little less gathered. So let me give it a little slack here. think I'll be okay with that. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's see. I think I'm comfortable with that, with this much gather, and then I'll fix it once I sew this together. So you sew these two together. I usually just cut it, and I end up having to tape my elastic. I end up taping my safety pin because it did open up when I was trying to feed it through. So you're going to cut both ends of your elastic and making sure without letting go. So usually I pull it out more. I'm going to go ahead and sew it together. Now you can hand sew this or you can machine sew it. Now this is only the straight stitch, so I won't be able to do a zigzag. Ideally you may want to do a zigzag, but since I'm using my old vintage machine, this one only has straight stitch. So I'm just going to make like a box here. So the stitch that you're making is, I hope you can see that, is a square and then an X inside that square. Then you go ahead and even out the gathering. So before you close it, let's go over and let's test it and make sure it fits. Because I still have a chance to make it smaller or add if I need to. Okay, so now let's go ahead and test this out. Make sure it fits. And you want it to be very tight. And it fits perfect. Then you want to make sure you can lift these up. Okay. And actually it works pretty nice. So I do like that. So now let me go ahead and finish it up and I shall be back. So to finish this up, we're gonna need to sew this down here. So you bring it back to your sewing machine. And we're just gonna close the opening. So you're gonna just stretch it. And then close up the opening like that. Okay, so let's go back. So the last finishing touch is we're gonna moisten this and let it dry. Since this is canvas, what's gonna happen is gonna shrink a little bit. So I'm going to just moisten my canvas. And then we'll let it dry and it will actually shrink. So I hope you like this video and how to reupholster your portable iron board for quilting. I hope you like it. Thank you for watching. Bye now.